Okay, so I'd like to welcome you all. Thank you for joining us. Really hoping to use these sessions to get you guys some clarification on, the mandates from the state the state of emergency in Vermont, and the amendments that are coming out, or addendums rather, that are coming out from the governor, on a pretty regular basis. So I know there's probably a lot of questions and things surrounding all of those. So that's kind of the idea of having you here. Moving into the future, we're hoping to have other speakers join us who may be able to shed some light and give you guys some insight on the steps that we can all take to move forward as the restrictions starting to lighten a little bit. I'd like to thank Dick Martindale from the Vermont State Department of Health for joining us today. He's going to give us some brief updates, and then we can hop into some questions and you guys can voice your concerns and things like that. I wanted to just give you a couple of updates. Still working with the Vermont Chamber on abatement of rooms and meals tax. Okay, so they have reiterated to me, and I'm passing it along to you guys, to be sure, even if you are not paying those rooms and meals taxes right now, to file them. The end goal is still complete abatement of those taxes. However, you can file right now without payment and not receive any penalties or fines until they kind of figure out what's going on with that. But please do file those on your scheduled date. Dick and I were just speaking before the call about he's looking into, with his managers, just some clarification on online bookings. The clarification I had received from the Vermont Chamber of Commerce basically stated that you guys could not accept any new reservations prior to June 15th. You could, however, have online reservations for June 15th and forward. The part that Dick is going to go ahead and clarify for me with his managers is that gray area of people who are on the books from the 15th of May to the 15th of June. The Chamber had expressed to me that those would not need to be modified unless the governor made a change to the state of emergency, and change that date. So Dick's going to go ahead and look into that. He's already reached out to his managers on that.
I just got a response.
Okay.
So, but let me ask, are you able to put up that link to the ACCD on the screen while we're...
Yeah, absolutely. Give me just 1 second.
So
here.
For lodging, the agency that seems to be developing most of the guidance or having the authority to do that is the Agency for, there we go, Agency of Commerce and Community Development. So what I just got from my managers about that May 15th to June 15th timeframe, she said it's under the sector-specific guidance. Vermont, stay home, stay safe.
Not seeing it.
Hey, click on resources for businesses and see what we got there. Or I'm sorry, up the big green button up top. I'm sorry.
Okay.
While we're hunting, I'm going to read the language. He actually excerpted it for me. So it's under lodging and accommodations. And it says, though the order and this guidance does not require lodging establishments to cancel reservations between May 15th and June 15th that were made before the stay home, stay safe order was put in place, the agency advises that these reservations may need to be canceled if the stay home, stay safe order is extended beyond May 15th. That is a confusing statement.
Wow.
I'm going to read it again. Let's see if we can together figure this thing out. Though the order in this guidance does not require lodging establishments to cancel reservations between May 15th and June 15th that were made before the stay home, stay safe order was put in place, The agency advises that these reservations may need to be canceled if the stay home, stay safe order is extended beyond May 15th. Okay, I get it now. He updated the stay home, stay safe order to say, we're now saying May 15th, all these things are in place until then. That's for restaurants and other businesses. But if you already had a reservation from, people made a reservation before, I think it's March 13th, and it was for May 20th or May 25th, whatever, that May 15th or June 15th, you could keep that. But that's only if this overriding May 15th for everything else stays in place. And that's frustrating because we don't know if that's going to stay in place yet. So here's the end result. If this is the way I'd work. If I had a lodging guest that's scheduled months ago and they were going to arrive after May 15th, I would have read this and said, yep, you can still keep this reservation unless the governor says the overall stay executive order is going to go past May 15th also. And then they would say, well, how do we know when that's going to happen? And we would have to say that's being deliberated day by day based on the science and the data that the health commissioner and the governor are reviewing with their teams. And that's not a very satisfactory answer.
Dick, thank you very much for the update there.
Now,
Thank you.
and again, that link that Eric was using, that's the one you guys need to use. That's pretty much the only link that I would recommend for lodging is the ACCD. That everything's on that site for lodging that I'm aware of. We mentioned it a little bit in our food and lodging fact sheet, but the majority is at ACCD.
So guys, just to give you the heads up, as Dick's speaking, he's asked me to share some of these links with you, and I've actually put that down into the chat. If you're not on a computer, when we post these videos tomorrow to the email that I'm sending out, I'll be sure to share these links with you as well so you can see them. But what I've done over here is there's a link to the VOSHA update that Dick is going to give us. There's a link to the Vermont Department of Health website with link to information about food and lodging. There's a link to that ACCD site he was just referencing, the Vermont Chamber, and then a link to where actually I just was, the sector-specific guidance for what's going on. So if you don't get those links here, like I said, I will be sure to send them out in that email tomorrow. Before Dick gets into his updates, just a few more things. In that email I sent you today, there is updated information concerning the SBA programs, the PPP. That'll also be in that email tomorrow. And then we'll also be sharing some more information with you tomorrow from the Vermont Chamber. If you haven't been to that website, I've actually shared that link over there with you. And I'll just give you a brief kind of glimpse at what they have going on there. So this is the Vermont Chamber of Commerce website, and there's an entire section there with just kind of some guidance for you guys about what it is you can be doing or can't be doing, and updates and all of those things. We try to share as much of this as possible, but this is a very helpful resource from the Vermont Chamber, and that link is shared with you in the chat function over there. So what I'm going to do is just open the floor up for Dick to give us some updates, and then once he gets through that, we will get into the Q&A, and we'll cover that when we get there.
So the update that came out Friday afternoon from the governor's office, and we got the actual written addendum, which is now addendum 11. And that's the one that talks, among other things, about the need for every worker in every business. And I clarified this early this morning with my management to say, does this include food and lodging establishments, the answer was yes, that every staff person and manager needs to take this COVID training that is set up very nicely, luckily, at the Department of Labor's website. And Eric just said he forwarded that, or he's putting that. There we go. Whoops, no, chamber.
No, that's not the one.
I
Yeah.
know, I'm getting there.
He's working. I tell you, I love technology. There we go.
You see the link right here for the
Yep.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So one of my peers actually took that class or this training this morning. He said it was about 10 minutes. And at the end of it, when you complete it, you click a button and you get a certificate. So what I'm recommending to folks is the sooner you and your staff can take that and print the certificate, the better. Even if you're not operating, it's nice just to get that done. And then just keep a very simple log of everyone that's taken that. And again, the way it was described to me, it's very simple. It's it's kind of like a PowerPoint, I guess. And then when you get to the end of it, you click a button, it's done. But it is a nice reminder of the things folks are supposed to be doing: wearing masks, social distancing, washing hands, and I don't know, I haven't looked at it yet, but might even talk about homemade sanitizers. We always talk about that when I visit you guys, and how it's really pretty simple to make up your own sanitizer, which we do anyway. So just kind of reiterating those things you do already. But in addition, mask wearing, a little more on the glove use, and of course the separation, social distancing. But so please let your staff and your counterparts out there know that that is now a requirement. And then for other things with lodging, because I know several of you are B&Bs, so the same things would go for food. So anyone, if you, and most of you manage your facilities very directly, but for those that maybe aren't at a facility, you're remote, make sure your manager and your staff all take that test and somebody's logging that. That's really about it for lodging, except for that strange language I just kept reading to you. So if you do have guests between May 15th and June 15th, it seems like there's a little bit of a risk there that if the governor says now everything's getting pushed back, then those guests in that time frame should be advised that they might need to be canceled. That's the language.
All right. So what I'm going to do, all right, so what I want to do now, thank you, Dick, for the updates, is I want to go ahead and open it up for you guys to be asking questions, okay, or voicing your concerns about what it is that you're seeing right now or thinking about right now, questions about what it might look like when, things do open back up. So the way everyone is muted at the moment. What I would ask is that if you have a question, again, underneath that participant section at the bottom of your screen, if you click on that, there's a raise hand function in there. If you raise your hand, I'd be happy to unmute you and have you ask your question. If you are calling in and not on a computer, you can press *9 to raise your hand as well, or you can post your question into the chat function. Okay, so does anybody have any questions for Dick? All right, we're going to start with Patty Pusey.
I guess it wasn't for Dick. It was another question. I'm sorry.
No.
I had a general question.
Sure.
So Billy and I have a bed and breakfast that we run together. We're the only 2 employees, and we have a partnership. Now, when I file for unemployment, does that mean that only one of us can apply, or it's not a sole proprietorship, but it's 55 years of marriage? I think we're one. So what's your thoughts?
I don't, right off the top of my head, Patty, I don't have an answer for you.
All right, I can call the hotline. I just was
Yeah,
trying to avoid it.
I can run it up the flagpole as well and see if I can come find an answer. It's just things have gotten kind of murky with the Department of Labor, obviously, right now in terms of, who's
Well, the other
qualifying
thing
for the
is, do
state.
you have to have your 19 income tax finished in order to apply for unemployment, or can they use 18?
The update I received from a business owner the other day was that when she tried to apply for the pandemic unemployment assistance, they were only allowing her to submit her 2019 filings, which
That's what I thought.
for
Okay,
some of you,
that's what I thought, but somebody
doesn't
told me,
work.
no, 18 was fine.
It doesn't work because they extended the date on those filings until July this year. So some of you may not have filed and may not have those available at the moment.
So Patty, this is Gretchen.
Yeah.
So from my understanding, and like again, the unemployment has never been stood up for sole proprietors ever, and so they're trying to figure it out as they go too. But what I would do is, if they do ask for your 2019 taxes, send them your 2018, and if there's a space where you can explain, they're going to understand that. They're going to know that the majority of businesses have not filed their 2019 taxes. It's very rare that anybody has done that. So I would just like override it and, submit your 2018. And as far as, you and Bill, I think that you can both apply for unemployment benefits because he was part of the organization, and you should be able to both apply. I know that other people have applied. Nobody has really gotten any checks through this. So I would apply, and what's the worst thing that can happen actually is, you get denied on one of you. But I believe that both of you will be eligible for unemployment benefits. I don't plan on a whole lot of money because, you're not going to get your full what you made last year.
Okay. If they send me 50 cents, I'll be happy.
Right. Well, you're supposed to get the additional 600 too. So that's what they have said. That's what they've told me anyway. So, just, keep at it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you,
You're
Patty,
welcome.
for the question, and Gretchen, thank you for your help. Let's see. Next, I have a raised hand. All I have is a phone number, 6448.
Yeah, Eric, that's Royal.
Hi, Royal.
How are you? So I'm on two things. I can see you with the thing you see on the video, but I don't have a microphone set up, so I also call in. Anyway, sort of getting back to that gray area between the 15th of May and the 15th of June, with other things sort of right now, unless it's changed, I understand that, unless the governor changes the date, a lot of other things are going to be able to open on May 15th, theoretically, but it sounds like they're holding lodging off till the 15th of June. Let's say you didn't forget about that gray area in between that let's say you didn't have any reservations, but it's sort of saying lodging has to wait till the 15th of June while other things can happen at May 15th. Like I was just on the restaurant call, and they're all thinking about May 15th. So that's sort of the way I'm looking at it, which is kind of weird that they'd have singled out lodging to wait till June 15th. Does that sort of jive? I mean, I've read everything you're talking about. I read it last night, and I saw what they were saying about the difference between taking reservations and already having reservations, et cetera, et cetera. But definitely lodging's been singled out till June 15th. According to the way I'm reading it.
Dick, do you have any thoughts on that?
Actually, we've asked the same question several times, and the only sense I got, and it wasn't crystal clear, was lodging, bringing people in from potentially all over the world. And as the COVID-19 illness was spreading into different countries and states, that's why the lodging thing became more of an issue. And again, this is not a great answer, but of having people reserve and come in from out of state and out of country. And there was more of a risk associated with that versus local business. And that's the only response I got on that. But I guess you could see it, if someone from a country that is having this as an emerging disease came in, that would be much more of an issue.
Well, keeping them out more on the federal level.
Again, it's not an official response that I just provided. It's the one that I had in my head from asking the same question.
And just not to hog the conversation here, but just in general, I see Karina's on the call. Patty, we're all like bed and breakfast. Now, some of us have more rooms than others, but and we do groups and so on. So getting back to that restaurant call. You have a group of people, 50 people coming in, and they want to be together. That's why they're a group, and they want to come into the dining room together, and they want to have breakfast around the same time, and we always have dinner at the same time. And that's, I don't have any solutions. Ned and I keep talking about what are possible things we could do to maintain distancing, but it's just a challenge, a big challenge.
Yeah, and I think that's, Roy, I think part of the idea of having these conversations is that we can all be talking to each other and sharing ideas about how we plan to manage that type of situation, based on, any kind of regulations that are put in place that would allow people into your establishment. So I think as we get a little closer to that and we have some more of these conversations, I think we'll be able to hammer some of that stuff out, so that we have kind of plans in place for when we do open back up.
By the way, one of the thoughts I just had last night was, do you, or maybe I heard somebody say it on one of the news things, having people sign a document that you're held harmless document. They come here and as part of the sign-in process, the registration when they check in, and they sign a document, that we're held harmless if they get sick, because if we know our staff is good and we've done all the proper things to, sanitizing and all those good practices, but they come in with in a group with another person that's carrying it and they don't know it, I don't want to be responsible. And so I'm thinking about a document that they might have to sign. I don't know if anybody's even thought that far or even would consider something crazy like that.
Dick, is this anything you've heard about at the state level? I mean, some type of document or?
It is not.
Okay.
In fact, as I mentioned on the other call, and some of you probably heard it, but the governor's analogy to reopening the economy is this turning of the spigot, a little bit at a time. And whether that hold harmless strategy is going to be part of a future opening, I haven't heard any discussion on that, at least from food and lodging or the governor's orders or addresses yet. But maybe that's a tool for the future, but I haven't heard about it yet.
All right. Well, Royal, if we hear anything about that, or like I said, I think once the governor starts to talk about what it looks like for you guys to be back open, I think there should be some guidance that comes along with that. In terms of your guys' responsibilities and how much you're liable for and things like that. So I think as we get a little closer to those doors being open, we should have some more answers to those types of questions.
Hey,
And
can I
what
jump
about
in?
insurance? Our insurance companies might start saying things about this as well.
Right. What was that, Dick?
Actually, I got a, hey, Sandy, are you still on the call? Your mute button's on, but,
Yes, I am.
okay, here's the response I got from our manager on, so for those of you that may have missed it, Sandy has a potential guest. It's a nurse that would like to stay for one night to provide chemotherapy to a resident at the residence, correct, Sandy?
Yes.
Okay, so here we go. This is food and lodging, who I'm speaking for. While we cannot provide legal advice on interpreting the order, one could argue that it appears to fall into the description below, and this is in quotes, providing accommodations for healthcare workers or other workers deemed necessary to support public health, public safety, or critical infrastructure, end of quote. So because it's a medical need, it appears that we could argue that would be okay. She ends though to say, if in doubt, contact ACCD for interpretation. Because again, as I said in the beginning, ACCD seems to be the driver for the lodging business right now on what the guidelines and requirements are going to be.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
And Royal, thank you for your questions. Like I said, I think as we get a little closer, hopefully we'll have some clear answers on those. But I've written them down. It's definitely things that we want to be thinking about, moving forward. Okay. I'm going to move. Shelley shared a question with us in the chat, and I'm just going to read it for you, Dick. It says, when will we be able to get staff and no guests to be able to do a deep cleaning and other jobs? I have staff who are not able to get unemployment. We're paying them what we can, but obviously they'd like to get back to work. And this question actually came up from another lodging owner last week, Dick, and I was just hoping for some clarification on whether or not they would be allowed to have, with social distancing in mind, any employees there, outside painting the building or raking a flower garden or something along those lines. That is,
I think I can give a fairly decent answer on that one. I think I saw it in this latest addendum 11. Let me find that. I think the answer is yes, you could do that. But again, have them do the training first. They still need to be 6 feet apart. Okay, here it is. So again, this is probably the most instructive addendum to the executive order I've seen yet. Subject to compliance by all affected businesses and nonprofit governmental entities and set forth above in ACCD guidance. This is phase 2 of the opening, which was effective today. Micro crews of no more than 5 persons per location/job to perform outdoor work and construction work in unoccupied structures. Again, these might not be exact, but to me that says landscaping, so outdoor stuff. Supporting operations may continue with the minimum number of employees necessary to support curbside pickup and delivery. That doesn't do it. This is the resumption of in-person shopping at outdoor retail operations such as garden centers and greenhouses offering mulch, stone plants, etc., that they will not have more than 10 people, including customers and staff at any one time. So this is all about outdoor stuff. So certainly outdoors, if it's a crew, you can have 5 people and they go through that training before May 4th. That Department of Labor site. So outdoor, I think that's a firm yes. For doing a deep clean inside, I'm going to text that off to my manager and
Okay.
hopefully she's, still available. It's a good one.
Okay. So I think
So-
while you're doing that, Dick, we're going to
Yeah.
go ahead. I know Karina had another question. And then Shelley, we will circle back around to your question, hopefully once we get an answer back.
Perfect,
Okay.
thank you.
Hey, Karina, you had a question?
Yeah, well, I have a couple of comments. First of all, that certificate to do on the health part with the employees, I just did that this morning over a cup of coffee. Very easy to do. You just read through the 41 pages. I mean, it's spades largely. It didn't take me long. I had my staff all do it to sign the certificate, and I will keep it on file. Very simple process to do, actually. No issue at all. In terms of what Patty was talking about for self-employed, I went on to the unemployment myself, and you just basically follow the steps. I mean, I'm my own person, so I don't know how it works for two, but you basically just follow the steps and file on the unemployment, and from, backdated to when you had to close the inn. And then I was sent another link to continue on to the actual self-employment part, and then I just follow the steps on that. It's fairly simple too, and you put in your, bank account and whatever, and I got a verification that it's not a lot of money, but it's certainly going to help for any, electrical bills or whatever else. So, but you have to start on the unemployment on Vermont Department of Labor to do that first, Patty, and you just follow the steps. Yep. And I did put in my 2019 tax form, so I just took a picture of it and attached it to. It was pretty simple. So, and then I do find it very confusing, this whole May 15 to June 15, and I've been talking to Eric about it. I don't know where they came up with this June 15 date for, and nobody seems to know. But I've understood it too, that any reservations that we have from May 15 to June 15, we can just keep, and then we'll just play it by ear. I mean, I agree with Royal, listening to the governor's press conference. I've been listening to them all the time. Clearly the lodging industry is how I see it. We are the last ones going to be open. And, it'd be nice to have any idea when that might be, but I don't think the governor's ready to make that at all, because I think it's too early in the game. I think the only we can thank our lucky store that is mud season, and we probably would have been closed now anyway. But I don't know, Memorial Day weekend, June 1st, June 15th, so frustrating enough to know, but he's very methodical. So, and he talked about campgrounds today in the press conference. So, but he's monitoring Massachusetts and New York, and he just doesn't want an influx of people coming to Vermont. So that tells me that lodging will be last. Oh.
Yeah, and I think when you listen to the governor speak, I mean, he's very adamant that the decisions that he makes are based on data, and the science of the whole thing. So I think, as those updates permit, I think he'll be making decisions, based on those things. Like that's not to say he couldn't, come out and change that addendum at some point should he find it merited or something like that. But I think the goal here is to provide you guys with as many resources as we can, whether that's unemployment, whether that's SBA loans, or any other kind of help that might be coming through the pipeline to make sure that we do get you carried through. And I do understand that it's mud season, and you probably would have been pretty slow anyway, but you're still not open. So like the main thing is that we provide you with the resources you need to get yourself through. And that's, that starts with things like this call and having conversations with Dick and getting clarifications on these types of things. And we're swinging for you all the time. I mean, that's how we got the governor to allow you guys to start taking reservations for after June 15th, because, through, our chambers in the VASE group, reaching out to him and saying, look, we have to at least allow them to start taking some bookings, so we can't just shut everything off. I mean, realistically, at some point we should be coming back out of this. So every day we're trying to think of things, for your sector and everybody's sector, to kind of ease the burden a little bit. So any updates we get from the state level, on anything pertaining to lodging, we'll be absolutely sure to share with you.
Yep. That was it.
All right. Thank you, Karina.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Dick.
Good, thank you.
Do we have any other questions, comments, concerns?
If I could just ask for a little more clarification on the family, the large groups for lodging and dining at your facilities. And I apologize, I was trying to do this correspondence with my manager at that same time. It was a good question. Whoever brought that up, could you reiterate that?
Royal, I believe that was you.
Oh, okay. Just that it's a challenge. I mean, I know Karina and I both have similar types of groups and so on. And a group is a group because they want to be together. It's not like having an individual guest who comes and doesn't know anybody else. And we sort of specialize in that. And so the challenge is, how do you keep them apart when they want to be together eating, and then they do their thing, whatever it's going to be, a music festival, motorcycle group, a family reunion, a wedding, whatever it's going to be. That's sort of, I'm just saying it's a challenge. It's something, I don't know, we don't know what's going to, at least Ned and I don't know what's going to happen. We're sort of like waiting to see what happens just sort of nationwide at the same time. But we're concerned that people will be afraid to be together and they might cancel the ones that we have on the books. So far, nobody's canceled a group yet.
Are you
Later.
Hey, Royal, are you still saying that would be for after June 15th?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So currently, it wouldn't be an issue then, for at least as far as the state goes, unless we hear otherwise from the governor's office. But you're kind of saying that they themselves might be concerned about that?
So yes, there are two sides. I mean, there's a side that says, okay, we're talking to our group leaders and we're telling them, okay, Vermont has lifted the current restrictions and you can be a group and act normally. And if that day, and I do see that as a sliding date. I mean, we don't know what's going to really happen around May 15th. It could get changed. But
Right.
so if that's going, assuming, let's say all these dates stay in place, then yeah, June 15th, and we say, okay, you can come and be as a group, you can be in the hot tub, you can be in the pool, you can, play volleyball, you can, do all things, eat together, all your meals and all the things that groups normally like to do, then great. The flip side of that is I'm afraid people are still going to, I'm concerned people are still going to be afraid to be together, and that could affect the business, but that's a different topic, really.
Okay, right, I understood. And as I was saying, I don't know if you were on the other call, but the complaints that we have been receiving, and me personally as well, are all from citizens that are concerned that these executive orders aren't being followed thoroughly enough. So that there does seem to be that general public interest in following all this stuff. So that could be an issue then, but hopefully by June 15th, it will be abated.
Well, Ned and I are the only two people here that have to brainstorm together for the most part, although Karina and I have been on some other calls, and Eric and so on. And one of the things, the conversations we're going to have with our groups is around, our group leaders is, around what are they doing to feel comfortable for the group to come? Are they going to insist that the people in the group can't come unless they've already had it, or they've been tested, or they're going to bring a thermometer and test everybody when they walk in the door? I don't know what they're going to think, but we're going to have those conversations with the group leaders, and that'll
Right.
have a lot to do with it.
Yeah, that's true. And again, I think what every state is looking at every other state, to see what's working, what's not working. So we'll all learn together when those types of decisions start coming out. But hey, I just got the response about deep cleaning. If so, without question, you can have staff start doing yard work and, raking and picking up the brush and all that stuff. I don't see a problem there. And so if you're, as far as coming into the facility, yes, they can still do that following those same guidelines. So that's good. That was a really good question, by the way, to get staff engaged so they're getting a paycheck and they're doing something that's going to be necessary down the road anyway. That's good.
Awesome. Thank you, Dick, for checking in on that. We do
bet.
have a little bit of time left. I do see a question here from Melissa. Melissa, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. Oops. There we go.
There.
Hi, Melissa.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
So I guess the question pertaining to that, we were just talking about specifically our employees, but what about, say we have subcontractors that do our cleaning? I think as it stands now, only one subcontractor can clean a house at the same time. We can't have two. And I didn't know if there was any, right now we're still trying to get all of our winter seasonal places cleaned after people in there all winter, and it's a big job, so it would be nice to have two people. I don't know if subcontractors can maintain the 6 feet and have masks or, follow all the other guidelines. So that's one question. I guess the other question is, I'm assuming like my place, I own it. If I put a sign on the door, and I think what I'm going to do is probably provide masks, but making it mandatory for anyone who comes in to wear a mask. There's nothing saying I can't do that, is there? We're not open now, but I'm just kind of thinking about the near future.
I don't believe there are any restrictions on you saying, you need to wear a mask in my business. I know that, the mandates that are coming from the state level, and I believe it was in addendum, it was either addendum 10 or 11, there's a few of them now, was that all employees must be wearing masks.
Yep.
And practicing social distancing and things like that. There is not currently a mandate in the state that anyone else has to wear a mask. So if you're in a store or things like that, it is highly recommended. And from the governor's comments today and Dr. Levine's comments today, they're estimating probably, and it wasn't a very scientific way to gauge it, but around 80% of people, heeding that warning to wear a mask in public. Again, I don't believe there's anything that says that you can't say that. I don't know the legal ramifications of, and I don't know why anyone would, but to say, well, I don't want to wear a mask, but I want to patron your business. I don't have an exact answer on for you right now. I can reach out and get an answer for you on it though.
Yeah, I guess I'd be curious to see, and obviously I'm currently a very small fish in a very big pond, but I go over to Germany for medical treatment, and I was actually supposed to go and I had to cancel. But there I said, how are things there? And they said, well, it's the law that we wear masks if we go out in public, and so they've started opening things back up, and I just wish that there was some sort of, they're opening everything back up, but we don't know if we have antibodies for it. We, don't have a vaccine. It just seems crazy that it's not mandatory that people wear masks out in public, but whatever, I know, I know you can't do anything about that, but I'm just kind of voicing that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, from the chamber standpoint, and I know Wilmington works as well, we've really been pushing the fact that they are available all over the place. I mean, the Rotary, the Deerfield Valley Rotary Club, and the Masquerade Project that is being run in conjunction with the Rotary by Mary Brady, they're working every day to produce masks and get them out to the public. So it's not like they're unavailable.
Right.
So we're really trying to promote the fact that they are available and that you should really be wearing one out in public, especially if you're patroning our local businesses and things like that, for takeout and going to the stores and things like that. I mean, it's only going to help to shorten this entire process if everybody kind of plays along. So I think, like I said, we've really been pushing that. I know myself and Meg at Wilmington Works have really been, getting the word out there, both when we're on the phone with people and spreading it in our emails and things like that, that those masks are available at a number of different locations. So to grab one and really kind of pitch in to help out. So I will definitely look into, the legal side of, the mask question and see if I can get an answer for you on that. Okay.
Okay, sounds good. And then also back to the subcontractors, if two subcontractors, say for instance, would be allowed in a house together as long as they were following all the guidelines that we are required to follow as a business.
Dick, did you have an idea on that? Oh, hold on.
That's me.
Oh, there you go.
Hey, Melissa, the most prescriptive document out of this tree worth of information here, I think, is Addendum 11. Have you seen that yet?
I have. It just kind of says "and others," which I had gotten when I talked during the last meeting, and they had said that housekeepers could go back to work, but it would be only one. So that's what I have started to have them do, not more than one. But I have been asked, because there's a few big houses out there that need cleaning. Now they've sat for a month or however long, so well, it is what it is. But
item J, there's this long list of things, but it does say indoor workspaces where more than 2 employees are working must have good air circulation. So that clearly implies there could be more than 2, but that's workers, employees.
Oh, employees, right? Yeah. So that was, because these aren't my employees, they're subcontractors. But I guess if you look at it as the owner, the subcontractor, then has employees under them, I guess that would be, you would think that would fall under that category.
Yeah, again, following the other criteria, in addition, I think that would be, again, reasonable.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And when in doubt, ACCD really is the tiebreaker on a lot of these questions, but I could interpret that to say you're employing subcontractors to do some kind of function. They need to follow these other criteria. It should be okay.
The ACCD, do they have like a email or chat or a place to get answers if what we look up doesn't make sense?
I've actually used it. You just go to their main site, hit the COVID button,
Okay.
and in there you can submit questions to them. And I got a response probably within 6 working hours.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. Thank you.
You bet.
Thanks, Dick, and thank you, Melissa, for the question. I'm going to go ahead. Patty, you have your hand up, so you are unmuted now.
I just want to make a suggestion. I have extra face masks that I make, but I always keep a new one, and 2, rubber gloves in a Ziploc bag. And if I see somebody without a face mask, I ask them, "Do you have one?" And if they say no, I give it to them. So it's always nice, because sometimes people don't wear them because they don't have them. So it's always nice. Also, I think in New York, they have mandated that you can't go out without them on. So maybe that's down the road for us. I'm not sure it's the right way to go, but I think it's always good. And I also want to say that I think one of the reasons the numbers in deaths have not been as high as they initially projected was because people have followed the directions. They have done what they're supposed to do. Our son lives in New York, and he said the streets are totally empty. So where they said they were going to have all these hundreds of thousands of deaths, I think because when they made those projections, they didn't have that piece of the model. They didn't know how compliant people actually were going to be. And I think basically on a whole, people have been compliant. And I think that we have to believe that if we have guests come to us, they're going to want to come and be compliant, and they want us to be compliant. I mean, I think it's going to be okay. I think it's a new world we live in, and we have to figure it out, you know, and maybe instead of having 12 guests at the breakfast table in the morning, we have one huge table. We're going to have a couple of seatings. So we'll figure it out. I think we are hardworking Vermonters who are healthy. Most of the people are healthy. And what do they say? 98% of the people who get this are not going to die. And a lot of the people who do pass away have passed away because of secondary situations. So I think we have to be cautious, but we also have to be realistic that we are following the rules, as they say. So I'm hoping that we can open up. I think it's going to be a rough year because I'm not sure what the tourism industry is going to be like. But we just have to take one day at a time. And thank you for this opportunity to hear what other people have to say and questions that I didn't think of that I'm glad to hear the answers to.
Awesome. Thank you, Patty. Hey, Karina, you had a question?
No, not a question. I kind of wanted to just touch what Patty said, and I totally agree with her. And I think that's kind of how we need to view it. I'm not going to stress too much over what's going to happen this summer with my groups. It's going to fall into place. And the governor did get that question asked, why are we not enforcing, or everybody needs to wear a face mask? And he said, you know, how are you supposed to enforce that? And do you really want to put that extra stress on Vermonters? And he feels very strongly that we are following his guidelines, and he rather educate and tell people what to do than, you know, put a big enforcement on it. And, you know, I just think we are very fortunate to live in this state, and we have such an amazing governor and his team. So we're lucky.
We are. I've actually spoken to, thank you, Karina. I've spoken to, you know, a number of people from outside of Vermont during this whole thing. And they've really kind of laid it out there that, you know, our governor seems to be pretty on point with his instructions and what he's doing. So I think, you know, statewide, you know, while some of these economic things are definitely hurting us, you know, from a health standpoint, I think the decisions he's making have been extremely helpful to our people. So that's a good thing. I'm going to have Meg say hello from Wilmington Works.
Okay, can stick my video on so you can see my
Hi.
little face. Hi. Just wanted to pop on and say hi. I've been in touch with some of you guys, I know with Shelley. And so just, you know, we're happy to sort of do whatever we can to get you guys the information that you need. And really feel free to ask questions. People, I think this is a great conversation, and we'll try and keep it going. And we said, you know, to our restaurants as well, if you guys need any kind of help in sort of, we were thinking we could format some signage that could be uniform in businesses across. So restaurants, you know, just sort of, and also for lodging establishments, so that it's clear to people what the guidelines are. We're happy to produce that. You know, we can just throw something together on our, so you guys don't have to, where it would just be a PDF that you could print and put in your dining room for people who are doing bed and breakfasts, or, you know, for B&B type, or, you know, not B&B, like Airbnb, like rental properties, maybe it needs a different message. But any help that you might need in producing signage, we can just help put that together for you, so you don't have to spend your time dealing with that. That's sort of more our type of thing we can do in an office, and then they could be uniform across the valley, just to get that message across. So please feel free, and we'll, as that, you know, becomes something that's needed, we're going to work on helping just have some signage, and we can, you know, run it by the Department of Health and make sure that it's all up to snuff for the current guidance. And then you could just print that and stick it in your window or your dining room or whatever you need to do to make it easier for you. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and I think it's just good to hear the questions, so we know the questions, we can help chase down the answers.
Thanks, Meg.
Sure.
Okay, so we're getting right towards the end there. I just want to reiterate what Meg said. I mean, we are here right now to be helping you. Okay. So if you have questions, if you have concerns, if any of those things, we want to hear from you. Okay. So, in Wilmington, be sure to reach out to, myself or Meg or Gretchen, and then Dover, Wardsboro, Reedsboro, Jacksonville, Whitingham, beyond. I'm here to help. Okay. Halifax. I didn't forget you, Patty. So I'm here to help. If you have questions, if you have concerns, I want to hear from you. Okay. And like I said at the beginning of this call, we're really looking into the possibility of, getting other speakers. I'd extend a huge thank you to Dick Martindale from the Vermont Department of Health for joining us today and for both calls, and just helping us out with these questions. It's been extremely beneficial to our business owners, and we really appreciate you being here. So thank you.
Good. Thank you for the opportunity. And again, as many of you know, when we've been visiting, I have come over here from Idaho, and I got to tell you, Vermont is truly impressive. The people of Vermont and the business owners are truly impressive. You folks are doing an extraordinary job. Your serious consideration for what's going on is admirable. I'm just thrilled. And I do communicate with my staff and peers from Idaho, and they're not having quite the success we are. So it made a difference. They started a little late out there. They spiked right off the bat. They're having demonstrations. They've got a couple of people there that have been there for quite a while that like to stir the pot, and they're really being disruptive, and people's health and the deaths are increasing because of it. It's very sad. So thank you for what you're doing. You're doing an awesome job.
Thanks, Dick. Okay, so just to close it out, if you guys have any feedback on this meeting or what you'd like to see in future meetings, anybody you'd like to see come and speak to us, feel free to reach out to either myself or Meg, and we will go ahead and coordinate that for a future meeting if possible. So reach out with questions, and everybody be safe. All right, thank you all for coming. Bye, guys.